Well, kia ora everybody, thank you for coming out here today. As you know, it's coming up a year since the terrible cyclones Gabrielle and Hale, and obviously it's been a very difficult difficult year for this region. In particular, we think of the families that lost 11 loved ones through that disaster. We think also of the families that have really struggled with respect to their livelihoods and their lives and their homes and getting that back on track, and it's been a very difficult year, as I said, for this region. We have visited many times into this region. We understand the issues well from opposition, but also now as a new government, and we are very determined that we actually now need to work really hard to actually make sure we can accelerate the recovery in this part of the country. We've also seen, I think, over the last year, the very best of New Zealanders as well. We've seen incredible acts from first responders, medical, emergency staff, just everyday Kiwis who, despite their own devastation, have gone above and beyond thinking about the community that they're part of and making a lot of extra sacrifices as a result. We are very focused in our government in our first 100 days. We've talked a lot about wanting to accelerate the recovery plan here. We're very sensitive to that fact. We know that things need to be moving quicker, and our job as the central government is to work out what can we be doing to try and accelerate and pick up the pace here as well. We know there's an awful lot more for us to do still. And we came here very quickly before Christmas. The four of us, we met with the local mayors, we met with key stakeholders, we met with local iwi, regional council, district council, business owners, and we had a very good sense of the issues before Christmas as to what we need to do. One of those major issues was, as you can see here, about silt and debris removal, which has been a real challenge in this region already. And so today, I'm very pleased that Mark Mitchell and I are announcing that there'll be a $63 million boost to silt removal and debris removal here, both in Hawke's Bay and also in Tairāwhiti. Particularly here in Hawke's Bay, we'll spend $40 million. $3 million of it will be ring fenced into Wairoa, but we want to continue the work that's here so that people can get on with their lives and actually return the land to productivity as a result. Already the Hawke's Bay Silt Recovery Task Force has, I think, cleared 2.5 million tonnes of silt and debris, as well as 140,000 tonnes of woody debris. And those numbers are quite astounding, but obviously there's a lot more work, as you can see, from places like this that we still need to continue with. There's been nearly 165,000 tonnes of woody debris moved out of Tairāwhiti region, and with that in mind, we're also going to give $23.6 million to the Gisborne District Council to continue that work. All in all, that means that the government has contributed up to $232 million for silt and debris removal in the regions, and we know that this work will be important. We think this amount of money is important, that we make it work really hard and that we actually work with the councils to get this task done. We know there's other issues, we've got to keep working our way through those, but for today, that's what we want to be able to announce to the community here. With that, happy to take any questions you may have.
Why has it taken you so long to give them this extra funding?
Well, it hasn't really. We've been in power just on over 2 months.
They've been asking for this money for a long, long time. They asked you before Christmas. It's been, weeks and weeks later.
Yeah, so we've come forward, I think, and I think when you talk to the councils, you'll find that they're very, very pleased the way we've worked with them to actually generate the package that they need in order to get this work done.
But each time that you drip feed through funding, and acknowledging that this isn't a drip feed, this is a decent amount, but the drip feeding of funding has meant that Silt Task Force has had to ramp up and ramp back down and fire people and re-employ them. Everyone says it's been quite messy. Yeah,
well, as a new government coming in, we've obviously inherited what the previous government was doing. I think that was too slow and I think it wasn't up to speed. We've gone round, we've actually listened, understood the issues. We've got 3 key issues we've got to work through. One is silt and debris removal. The second is really categorisation of land and getting clarity for people around their properties. And the third bit is infrastructure. And so as Mark and the team, we're going around understanding these issues. We've worked very, I think, constructively with council to actually put the package together that moves things through. And so I'm proud of what we're actually announcing today. I think it's a good thing.
What's your plans on February 14th? Will you be here in Hawke's Bay?
Well, I'm here today. I'm not sure about whether I'm here on February the 14th, but I'm here today. I'm here also because we've got an event later on to appreciate first responders and those that really stepped up, and just to thank them and to be grateful for them. There were some incredible stories, and so that's why we're here today.
Not sure as in not coming on the 14th?
I'm just not sure what my plan is on the 14th at the moment, but I'm here today and deliberately here today around the anniversary to signal again our intention to keep moving and to keep focused and to keep accelerating it. We've got a 100-day plan that we're working through as a new government. 2 of our key actions are here about how we accelerate the recovery here. Part of it has been an engagement to get a sense of what those issues are. The second part has been really around what are the other additional, what are called orders in council that we can use to speed up consenting, getting through some of the laws and the red tape that's getting in the way of actually things moving forward.
Another thing councils are
around here are crying out for is help for roads. Hundreds of millions of dollars that they need. Are there any plans to help them with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working, we're very clear about the road challenges that we've got here, particularly general roads, but also we're thinking about, that 4-lane highway between Napier and Hastings. We're thinking about State Highway 5 and State Highway 2. Those are projects that are in what we call our Transport for the Future plans, which we announced before the election as a national party. And those things are what Simeon Brown is now working through very closely with his new government policy statement, so we can get the funding through and get those projects up and running and moving.
How did the discussions with the locals today go? Hearing some of the concerns over slowness and...
Yeah, I'm just always, I've been here many times, as you well know, and you've been here with us at different times, and some of you have and some of you haven't been, but, I'm just touched by the stories. The amount of resilience, the amount of pressure that those families are under is immense, and just how they have managed to keep themselves going and some dark places that they've had to go to as they deal with the uncertainty and not knowing what's happening, but also just dealing with being overwhelmed by the magnitude of what's actually happened to their land. So you come away very impressed by the families, but more determined than ever that we're here to try and help them. We won't be able to meet everyone's needs, I get that. Not 100% of people are going to be happy, but we've got to set up a system that actually delivers better outcomes and actually gets the recovery happening in a much quicker way.
What's the plan with the land category work? Do you have intentions to possibly be stepping in there? You heard from locals today expressing their frustration around the inconsistency with some of that land category work.
Yeah, look, the reality is that each individual situation is quite different, and so there are peculiar circumstances to each individual case that makes it difficult. We have to design a system that actually works for the region on general to get it moving and get it through. We are, as I said before the election, we're not going to go upturn and create a whole new system and a new regime, because that would be incredibly unfair and I think just ends up stalling and creating problems. We now have to work with councils very strongly to work through what is actually happening in Category 3, 2 and 1 as to how people are being moved through and being assessed and put into a place where they've got some certainty to go forward with. I think people are just, they want certainty, right? And that's our job, is to make sure that we can work with local councils who it's their responsibility to get the categorisation up and running in a way and get people settled and paid up. But we know down here we've got probably 1,000 people in Hawke's Bay. We've got about 600 in Wairoa. We've got 160 people from memory in the Category 3, and we need to be able to give them clarity and get them settled quickly.
And you've been on the ground here, you've done quite a decent tour around this farm. What's your impression of the region a year on from the cyclone, and also you going to the anniversary council event today?
Yeah, look, I just want to acknowledge that it's been a very difficult and challenging year for the region. And that's why Mark and I are here today, is because of wanting to send our support. And we have been here many times over the course of the last year in opposition and also now in government. But we now need to push on and actually accelerate it. There are parts of the region that have recovered and bounced back, and you wouldn't think that there's been a cyclone in recent times. And there are other areas like this that are incredibly devastated and overwhelmed. And our job is to try and help people through that and be able to get the region back on a good track, growing again, seeing a pathway forward. We need this region to be successful. New Zealand is in a place where we need our horticulture sector bouncing back big time, because this is a country that is now, for 3 of the last 4 quarters, actually shrunk its economy. This is a country that has a huge amount of debt. This is a country now that has had a huge amount of government spending and not much to show for it. So we need to get the show on the road, and part of that is actually getting this region back on its feet again, and people having a pathway forward and some hope, not just in a kumbaya sense, but hope because there's a decent plan that they can march themselves from where they sit today to a much better place. And so our message goes out to all the people in the region to say thank you for the way that you've looked after each other. Thank you for the way that you have communicated your needs with us, in particular central and local government, and our job is to keep supporting and accelerating the recovery.
A lot of people, though, in this region are quite disappointed with the new government. They tell me that they feel you're not delivering on the promises you made on the campaign trail.
Well, I just say to you, we've been in power 2 months, so just put it into perspective. We've had Christmas in the middle of that. This is a government that's working incredibly hard. We're all working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're taking over from a government that actually left New Zealand in a terrible state of affairs. And I just put to you, we've got a 100-day action plan. We're working and focusing very clearly on those things. Those are the biggest things that have to happen the fastest and the quickest possible way. 2 of those big actions are actually here in the region. We're looking at what we can do to accelerate that. Today is part of that. We've said one of the problems after our conversation before Christmas, come back after Christmas, is to say sort out the silt problem. It wasn't sorted by the previous government, it's being sorted by this government because we are can-do and we are action-oriented and we're going to get things done. So I reject that outright.
I mean, you say back after Christmas, but we're now, in early February.
Well, we are, yes, and we've now consulted with all the councils and we've come together with a package. I think it's a bit unfair. I think you'd find that actually we've actually been incredibly responsive and go talk to the councils and go talk to the players and find out from their perspective that we actually have been partnering and engaging with them much better than the previous government ever did over that large period of time. And in our short period of time, we've actually got good action on the table. This is the first step in that.
Just briefly, what would you say to those people that are feeling a bit disillusioned?
Well, look, I mean, we get it. I mean, a year down the road, and for some people not to have seen a way forward is not acceptable. We need to move quicker. That was our immense frustration. We partnered with the last government, if you remember. We came here, we said we'd work with them, we'd pass laws, we'd enable things to happen, we'd send the money together, we'd do it in a bipartisan way. And there was a lot of mucking around and a lot of action and activity and stuff getting done. That's what we're here to do. And so, I hear the frustration. We understand the frustration a year down the road. As a new government, as I said, 2 months into it, we're moving with great speed and we're going to continue to do so.
This might be one for you and Mark here, but
Yep.
We're a year on from the cyclone and there's still been no real response from the local civil defence.
Yep, I'll let Mark talk to that.
How that was action. I
Sorry.
understand there's a review due back in March.
Yeah.
How confident are you that the local civil defence are up to play
Yep.
and ready to go if another cyclone hit?
Absolutely. So I just want to come back to the original question, then I'll come to that one. I just want to point out that we were heavily engaged with the region in opposition. We clearly understood and saw the amount of human harm that was happening, and we already had some clear ideas, the Prime Minister in particular, what we wanted to do coming into government. I'll just remind you that he brought the government back much earlier than what would normally happen. This was a priority. We've looked at it really closely. We're focusing on Hawke's Bay and Tairāwhiti because they have been hit so hard by the cyclone, both Hale and Gabrielle. We of course are looking at the rest of the country as well, who was also impacted. In terms of CDM, so Sajiri Mataparai has done a very, very comprehensive review. He's been in the area, he has interviewed and spoken to a lot of the people in terms of the response. I've got the draft copy of his report. The final copy, he's out there now doing some more consultation. The final copy I'll receive in March. The government will then look at that and review that, and then I'll release that publicly. That is going to inform us and drive a lot of the work that we're doing moving forward around having a national response and strengthening that. We've got legislation in front of the Select Committee at the moment. I anticipate that we will strengthen that off the back of Sajiri's report, and we'll release that as quickly as we can.
These changes just a year too slow. I mean, there were clear inaction from civil defence. Do you think there needs to be some urgency here?
Well, I'm not going to debate that. You can see the report that was released in Auckland, and I'm an Auckland-based MP, and it was very clear that when we had the flooding events in Auckland last year, there were some gaps in the command and control and how that happened. I recognise that. I would say this, is that having got around the country now, having been in the role for 2 months, there is some outstanding work that's done locally. I'd point to Westland with Mayor Celia Lash and her team that just had a red warning from the Met Service and deployed. So generally speaking, local councils, they've got varying degrees of capability, but from what I've seen, you've got a lot of dedicated people on the front lines here that are very capable. What we want to do is identify how we strengthen our response at a national level. And by the way, there's some gaps there that we have to strengthen. And Sajiri's report will actually go a long way to reinforcing what we've already seen, but also giving us a very clear roadmap in terms of what we have to do.
Is it too slow though, March? I mean, that's going to be more than a year after the cyclone. Why did it take so long to get this review, this inquiry?
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, you would have started that review immediately and like to have had it delivered earlier. But we're the incoming government. Sajiri has met with me. He knows that there's urgency around it. He has provided me with a very good draft copy. He is now having to go out and actually do some more consultation. There's some natural justice issues around that. We'll have it back in March. The government will be very quick in going through that, and then we'll release it publicly so everyone can see what's actually contained inside that report.
Great.
So, just to be clear, so are you confident that the local Hawke's Bay Civil Defence is ready to act in an emergency?
Yes, I have a very high level of confidence in terms of the people that you have here locally. I was heavily engaged during Cyclone Gabrielle, because you know, the surf lifesavers, for example, reached out to me. They were deeply fatigued with the work that they've been doing over those 3 or 4 days initially when the cyclone hit. I'm very engaged with FENZ in the work that they were doing, and of course, you know, one of my roles back in my own patch is I'm part of our swiftwater rescue team. I was at the Silverdale fire station when we were notified of our 2 firefighters that we lost over on the west coast. Police, in the way that they responded, in the way that they you know, supported the community when we had, everyone could see that there was big issues. And I mean, the good thing about today's visit is that we've been on this orchard that's 3rd generation. I just want to say that they have shown huge resilience. It has been a massive impact on them. They've actually come up with some good local solutions that highlights that there's an opportunity there to continue the local government, central government, to actually work with the people in the community that are coming up with their own solutions and supporting that. But make no mistake, we're about to go and actually acknowledge our first responders and the work that they did. It was outstanding. And do I have confidence in them? Absolutely I do.
Can it be improved? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
The improvement for us, a lot of it will be driven out of the report that we're getting from Sajiri. And I know that you've got to wait till March, but we've said that we will release that, and you'll all be able to see for yourself in terms of where the gaps are and what we need to do as a country to improve that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there something on an update for the cyclone ombudsman? What sort of stage is that at?
Yes.
Are you going to talk about that?
Well, I was going to say I've received advice on that, and I'm working through that in terms of what is the best way to set up that service to make sure that there's a dedicated resource that can get in there and talk to the community and respond quickly to central government. So yes, we are working on that.
How long will
Thank
it
you.
take?
Well, I anticipate that I'd like to have that closed out, an agreement on that in the next month.
In the
So
next month?
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Great. All right, team. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.